Dublin Wexford, 5 o'clock throw in at Croke Park, not Parnell Park. Westmeath Galway at Cusack Park and Mullingar has got a 6 o'clock throw in. Munster Senior Hurling Championship round robin round 3, Cork Tipperary at 7 at Porky Queeve. Then tomorrow we got the Leinster Senior Hurling round robin round 3, Antrim against Kilkenny, 1 o'clock start in Horgan Park in Belfast. On the line shortly we will have the former All-Ireland winner with Kilkenny, Taggy Fogarty, and the ex-Limerick player and manager, TJ Ryan. And first up is the former Offaly player and now GA writer with the Irish Independent, Michael Verney. Michael, how are you?
Good, John. How are you?
Yeah, good to talk to you as always, Michael. Okay, what is your state of the nation? You're Joe Biden now. You're in the presidential pulpit. What's your state of the nation on the small ball so far, what we've seen, and what we can expect over the next 24 or 48 hours?
Sure, last Saturday evening down in the Gaelic grounds was just superb. It was just amazing to see it in Clare, who have really thrown it down to Limerick the last couple of years, and obviously drew with them 3 times last year, to finally get over the line, and Limerick to be finally beaten, their first time to be beaten in championship in 4 years. It's kind of blown Munster wide open. A lot of people were probably saying before the championship started that you could nearly hand the title to Limerick. It doesn't work like that, and I'm sure Taggy will tell you that when they were going for 4 in a row, it just doesn't work like that at all. And they obviously have a massive setback now with Sean Finn being ruled out with the cruciate, so they're going to have to adapt and regroup. And there's probably Clare have probably given a lot of people hope going into the rest of the summer. And obviously Tipp and Cork this evening is going to be an absolute belter. Like traditionally down through the years, one of the great hurling rivalries.
Are you too young for that, are you?
A small bit, probably, yeah. Like my kind of Tipp Cork memories would be more. I remember being down at Munster final in Thurles that Cork won by, I think they won by 4 or 5. I remember Owen Kelly got an unbelievable score over his shoulder. I'm kind of remembering more like Isaki doing serious damage in 2010 when Tipperary were seen as All-Ireland contenders and were dumped out of Munster at the first hurdle, and a couple of other bits and pieces. But yeah, like, you know, Nicky's kicked goal and stuff like that is probably a bit before my time, but I've caught up on it and watched it all since, but I probably haven't got to see the best part of that rivalry because of my age or whatever, but yeah, expecting an absolute cracker of a game tonight.
It was in Killarney. That was, I think, the replay 1987. Tipperary broke a 16-year famine, but I think he scored the kick goal in the 87, the first game, Nicky English. But you had that. 3 years previously, he had Tipperary nearly winning the centenary Munster final against Cork when Cork were hot favourites. Cork eventually did come through. Then 1990, Tipperary were All-Ireland champions. Cork beat them. Babs Keating had a comment which was kind of misconstrued and used the Donkey Derby stuff. I think he was kind of taken out of context, but Cork used it anyway. And then the following year, it's actually on YouTube. Aidan Ryan scores a goal in the replay in Thurles to knock Cork out the champions, and the place just goes absolutely crazy. The madness of it, the invasion of the pitch, that was knockout. That was pure unadulterated knockout hurling. Now I don't think it's fair to have that now, but I kind of do miss a little bit of that, Michael, you know.
Yeah, just even to see I know that was only a round robin game last Saturday night, but like they tried to stop and get on the pitch after, and there was no way we were stopping any of the Clare supporters. They've been on the wrong side of a few really narrow defeats by Limerick in recent years. That's a brilliant rivalry, the two of them either side of the Shannon as well. And while that was only a group game, there was no stopping that pitch invasion after, and there was no stopping the sense of, I don't know, it was just like, it felt like something kind of seismic for this year, in that Clare have kind of shown a lot of other teams how to do it, that you can do it, that, you know, that they can beat Limerick going down the stretch. It's given a lot of the other teams hope. And while that was only a round robin game, it felt a little bit bigger than that. And I'm sure there'll be similar scenes. Depends if there's a winner this evening between Tipp and Cork down the park.
Michael Verney, obviously with the Irish Independent, you've got a lot of contacts in the game and contacts at Croke Park and all that kind of thing. So I'm not here to, once again, as I said before to Joe Malloy on the show on a Sunday a few weeks ago, to bash GA Go, right? I think it's a great idea to stream games, to have options, to have New York, for example, a few weeks ago as an option was a brilliant idea, right? So I understand the kind of concept of it. We're going to move into a world of the next 10 to 20 years where people won't watch TV, they'll watch streaming services. The GA has to make revenue, it has to generate as much revenue as it can to give back to the Units Association. If you go around the country and you look at clubhouses around the country, the fantastic facilities there are for young kids, boys and girls, and that is the envy of soccer in this country. But can you try and explain the rationale of why a game like Cork Tipperary, a game like that, is not on free to air this evening?
I can't really explain the rationale, John, to be honest with you. And it's you. If you think that's bad now, Limerick and Clare not been on telly last Saturday, would say Dublin and Wexford not been on, or Tipp and Cork not been on tonight. Like in 3 or 4 weeks' time, like I love football as well, but I'm a hurling man. That's my first game, shall we say. We are going to be swamped by football in a couple of weeks. The new All-Ireland structures, it's, a load of those games are going to be broadcast live on terrestrial television. Football will be everywhere you see. And I just think it's a bit bonkers not to be having, like, Tipp and Cork is one of the biggest rivalries in the GAA, let alone in hurling or football. I'm talking overall GAA. It's mad to think that game isn't on TV tonight. It's mad to think that Limerick and Clare, who, like, you put it this way, Limerick and Clare played out one of the best games that any of us have ever seen, like a little under 12 months ago, and that game wasn't on TV last weekend. It's very hard to get your head around. There's not, the hurling championship is already dwarfed by the amount of games in the football championship and the amount of teams with a live chance in the All-Ireland senior football. Whereas what have we got? We've got the 5 teams in Munster, we've got 6 in Leinster, 11 teams basically playing for the All-Ireland. There's a serious shortage of games already, and we should be realistically, in my opinion, the RTE should be front loading this part of the championship with hurling, because in a while we're not going to have any hurling to show. It's such a brilliant game, and like the Munster Championship is, I don't know, like the Munster Championship is manna from heaven for most GA supporters, not let alone hurling supporters. And to have those games not freely accessible on your TV right in front of you, I just think it's madness. It doesn't make sense to me. Now, the other thing I will say is, like, had there not been, the Sky deal a couple of years ago, people want every game on television. They want that's not the way it works, unfortunately. The games that are on GA Go are generally the games that would have been on Sky. I've no issue with that. I just have a serious issue with the selection of the games that they're putting live on television. With due respect to the Munster football final tomorrow.
Yeah, the Connacht football final, the Munster football final, they should be the games on stream. They should be the games on as an option, I feel.
With due respect, John, the audience that you're going to have for a Tipp and Cork game live on TV will dwarf what you're going to have for probably those 2 provincial finals combined, and that's just the way it is. And like, they're going to have all the football games on later on in the championship when we're getting towards really, really big games, even in the new All-Ireland structure, quarterfinals, semi-finals, finals, whereas we have a serious shortage of hurling games, and to me hurling is the best product in the GA, and I think we should be putting it out front and centre. Yeah, now we will have the concluding Munster games on terrestrial TV, and also it is, like, once again, it's a good, like, they have to sell this, and they have to, it does mean it will become successful because people will go to the streaming service, so you can understand the rationale and from the other side as well. Taggy Fogarty is on the line with us. Taggy, were you disappointed about Kilkenny last week? Did you feel he let it slip?
Afternoon, lads. Yeah, I probably did. And look, listening to the comments probably after with Derek Ling as well, it did feel like a game that maybe, it felt kind of like a loss. We were 6 points up 10 minutes ago. I felt myself that we should have been kind of seeing it out. We left Galway kind of hanging, and we led for most of that game. And we're probably a better team, partly in the second half, and probably should have drove on. And it was there for the taking. And like, Galway came at us, and then we got it back. And then, as I said, we're 6 points up 10 minutes ago. We should have seen it out, and only for a brilliant point in the end to draw it up. But I did feel pretty much that I lost. It was a home game, in Kilkenny's backyard. Galway were coming down. It was made up for a Kilkenny victory. Big game for Derek Ling. He didn't lose it, but he got a draw out of it. And look, the game itself, for me, it was a good game of hurling, probably one of the better games in the Leinster Championship. Was it a cut and thrust of Championship? No, it wasn't. It kind of felt like, these teams are going to meet down the line, and it was a good run out, and we got to see each other's what they're all about, and maybe kind of like, if the victory would have been a psychological victory more so on the board, I felt. But it did feel like we left them behind, and even hearing about Henry after, it kind of did feel that they got a bit of a result coming down to Kilkenny.
He's a clubmate of yours, Derek Ling at Emeralds. You seeing him much? Is he 24/7 with this?
He's 24/7, yeah. He's gone off the radar completely. I met him. I actually was going in getting 2 jerseys signed in Nolan Park, and I was trying to give him to Racker Cody. And I just seen him down the hallway, and he just said, "Come in for a chat." And also, I was just talking for a minute, and he said the farthest he's getting now is training sessions and to mass on a Sunday. So he's keeping his head down, and that's the way he wants it. He doesn't want to be talking to anybody. He definitely doesn't want to be talking to me and lads like us anymore. He's just totally focused. That's what he is. That's what he's all about.
Like, it is a full-time commitment, isn't it?
Oh, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a full-time commitment. How has he been received? How are I'm sure there's a bit of patience for him after 25 years of Brian Cody, Taggy.
Yeah, look, there is, of course. Yeah, there's a leeway in Kilkenny. I think there's nothing. I won't say there's not much expected from him, but I don't think he's expected to win in All-Ireland in this year or maybe the next year. But look, Kilkenny fans, like any other fans around the country, the Tipps and the Corks. When you're not beginning to get silverware, he will become under scrutiny, and he knows that himself. We know what Brian Cody's done. One of the greatest managers of all times, had a great team and all, and done brilliant things, rebuilt 2 or 3 Kilkenny teams. But Derek, he's taken his own look on it. He hasn't done nothing drastic. To a few subtle changes. Even if you look at the panel and the players, it's more kind of switching them around, trying to find maybe different positions for him. I suppose for me, one of the biggest thing he has done is probably maybe try to play the short game, maybe kind of a bit of a puck out strategy, but still keeping the ethos of Kilkenny hurling of like the hard work, the determination, that graft, that never say die attitude, and like that's what Derek was reared on himself anyway. Derek never made it underage with Kilkenny teams. It was more kind of in the senior grade. Brian Cody picked him out of my own club, which was junior at the time, and it was more kind of dedication, hard work, and he was just that grafter. And that's what he's going to bring to Kilkenny, and that's what Kilkenny are always going to have, I feel. Well, he has brought little subtle changes to the game, I felt, which is important, I think, for Kilkenny.
And any personnel changes that we should be mindful of going forward in the championship later on? Because they're probably going to get through the round robin.
Yeah, look, they are probably going to get through the round robin. Obviously, Billy Drennan was a find during the league. He's injured now at the minute. He was a big find, and I think we needed to find someone like that. He was top scorer in the league for Kilkenny. Picked up a knock. Now, he played in the league final. The question mark over Billy Drennan was, when it comes down to kind of the cut and thrust of championship, will he stand out in terms of winning his own ball and getting a few scores from play? And we haven't seen that yet because he hasn't been started. He's been injured. So, that's unfortunate. I think the Grove got a few opportunities, but I don't think anyone really else came through the ranks. And we're missing a few players. Richie Lahey went travelling. Mikey Carey's actually back now. He went travelling, but he's back. But I heard he's back in with the panel as well, doing a bit of training. So I don't know how fit or how he's been keeping himself fit with the travelling that he's been doing. Brown is gone as well from midfield. So he did lose a few players, and he was trying to bring a few from the other 20s on. How many of them came through? Really, only Billy Drennan came through. So you're probably picking from the same group of fellas that you had last year, and just probably maybe trying to put them in different positions and maybe try to get a new spurt of energy from Derek. The fact that Brian Cody is gone.
Michael Verney going Kilkenny, you'd have to think they'll be in the Leinster final, won't they?
They're definitely heavy favourites to be, John, you'd have to say. Just on what Taggy said there, to me it's like a bit of a last hurrah, I would say, for potentially for TJ, potentially for Richie Horgan, who's back on the squad tomorrow, potentially for Walter Walsh, Conor Fogarty, maybe even Killian Buckley as well. I don't know if they'll be there in a couple of years when Derek has had 2 or 3 years there. So, and I remember chatting to Adrian Ronan there recently, and he was just saying, like, Kilkenny people kind of realise they need to make hay while TJ is there in particular. Like, we're talking about a generational player, one of the best players Kilkenny have ever produced, one of the best players to have ever played the game, and he won't be easily replaced. So they need to be maxing out, I'd say, while him and a couple others are still there.
Yeah, definitely, Michael, and I think you've hit the nail on the head. And I think the fact that maybe Derek came in this year, we possibly could have seen a few retirements last year. Maybe a Richie Hogan, maybe a Walter Welch could have walked away, knowing the way Brian manages his teams. If you got out of luck with Brian Cody, it's very hard to get back into a Kilkenny team. And in fact, I think Derek came in, they're saying, right, I'm going to see what this guy is all about. I want to see something different. How is the panel going to be different? Maybe I'll have an opportunity. Maybe I might be in these plans if I play a bit better. So I think these guys did hang on maybe that extra year just to see, would they get back in? How different the whole setup is going to be. I know nothing. I just Brian Cody all my life, all my career. So these guys, I think, were excited about Derek coming in and about how the setup was going to change. And looking at TJ the last day, now he's missing a lot of max practice, but yeah, he did look like a lad that was kind of in need of games. I think Lee Chin is probably the same as well. There was times he was going through maybe on goal. He could have tapped the ball over the bar, but I think just that lack of match practice from TJ, he needs them practices, he needs them matches, and it could be a last hurrah for him. It depends on injuries as well with these guys as well, but as you said, Michael, it could be last hurrah for a couple of these guys, so we need to be kind of making some sort of hay this year if we can.
53106. We don't know where or when this Limerick journey will end, but they've given us immense pride and satisfaction. Limerick have a history of hurling, but not a history of winning. A man with 3 or 4 medals is commonplace in the traditional 3 counties, Cork, Tipp and Kilkenny. He's a rare breed in a Limerick jersey. Kilkenny played 4 games in 08 and 9 to claim 3 and 4 in a row. Limerick play 4 games to get out of Munster each year. They deserve to be applauded as great, says Paul, in but not from Cork. Somebody commented on YouTube, Robert Hartigan, with complete respect to Clare, they deserve the win, but the template Clare set for others was repeated fouling and dragging. I don't see it standing up. Taggy, it's amazing really, like TJ Reid and Patrick Horgan are probably going to swap the top scorer mark. Like they're the top, Patrick Horgan at the moment, the top scorer in the championship. I think it's 590 points if I'm correct. It's amazing, almost like the Harry Kane, isn't he, Taggy, of Gaelic games, Patrick Horgan. No All-Ireland, but incredible career over 15 years. Incredible career. He started out in 2008. 2008, it's 15 years ago. It's phenomenal to say that he's still going to this age. Top scorer, I think, I actually looked it up to 22 goals and 505 points, Patrick Horgan. Top scorer. Just phenomenal. And, I suppose back in 2008, 9, 10, 11, you'd put him up there with the likes of the Henry Shefflins, Canning, Owen Kelly, all these greats of the game back then. And he's still in the same sentence as the Grode Hegartys, the TJ Reid, the Tony Kellys of today. And that is just a phenomenal thing to do. And I think perhaps outside of Cork, he's maybe slightly underappreciated. Why? What's in terms of his quality? What's the...
I think he's been involved with an underachieving Cork team, John, and I think maybe he hasn't got the medals or maybe the All-Irelands to back up his genius, because he is genius. And there was a period of time when Patrick Horgan, when he didn't play well, Cork didn't play well, and the blame was nearly on Patrick, which is totally not fair. And he dragged Cork to a lot of matches, and then when Cork were flying it, Patrick Horgan was flying it, only because Patrick was ticking on the points, he was getting the scores. And, it's an unfortunate thing for me to say that he was on teams that maybe didn't win All-Irelands, that he didn't get his medal yet. We don't know, maybe this year could be proven differently. But for him, superb hurler. And the quality I like in Patrick Horgan, and Owen Kelly had as well, was when Cork weren't going well, or when Tipperary weren't going well, who stood up? It was the Patrick Horgan of this world, or it was the Owen Kelly of this world. And they played a massive respect to him. And, he came under criticism, and he has played it off. 2017, he got dropped for I think it was the league campaign, got back onto the team, and maybe this was the kick up the arse from management. I'm not too sure, but phenomenal career, phenomenal player, and still doing it. Scored 8 points the last day, 2 from play. And, you talk about the match tonight, absolutely sensational match. And it's probably going to be a match-up. Cottle Barrett's probably going to man-mark Patrick Horgan. At 34 years of age, he's still doing it for me, and just a brilliant hurler, classy hurler. We'll
look ahead to Cork Tipperary more so after 2. Michael Verney, to be brutal about it, Westmeath are not going to win this weekend. Antrim are not going to win. That's correct, isn't it?
You'd be probably foolish to write off Antrim up in Corrigan Park given the result they got against Dublin. Kilkenny have been good, but they haven't scored a goal in the Leinster Championship yet, which is a bit worrying. If they don't score a goal up in Corrigan Park, it'll probably be a lot tighter than people think. From Westmeath's point of view, they're missing Cillian Doyle, an All-Star nominee last year. Realistically, their best player, if not in the top 1 or 2. And they just can't afford to be without him. Very interesting in the Westmeath Galway game this weekend, John. You'll have Davy Glennon, the former Galway player, in around the middle of the park for Westmeath, and you'll have Ronan Glennon, his brother, playing midfield for Galway more than likely as well. So it's not too often that brothers face brothers. I don't know what their family or their parents are going to do in that game. I don't know who they'll be shouting for. I don't know if they'll be shouting at all. They usually would be going different places at the weekend, with one maybe following Westmeath, one following Galway. So that's a really, really interesting part of that game this weekend.
Okay, hurling, it's anyone's game. This season, Bord Gáis Energy is launching a new competition to uncover personal stories from across the country, celebrating diversity and inclusion within the game. Each week throughout the championship, listeners to Off the Ball and the hurling pod will be invited to share their It's Anyone's Game story via WhatsApp. The competition running from the 24th of April to the 20th of July. Weekly prizes including match tickets and signed jerseys, one overall prize as well of much coveted All-Ireland final tickets. So to enter, simply WhatsApp 086 786 9642. That is 086 786 9642 by text or voice note to share your hurling story and why you believe hurling is anyone's game. For full competition details, visit www.boardgashenergy.ie/home/BGE-GAA. We're back after this.
Get real-time updates at Newstalk FM on Twitter. Never miss a story.
Hi, I'm Lorraine O'Connor from St Peregrine's GAA Club. We recently upgraded our clubhouse to Air Gigabit Fibre Broadband for Business. Between managing our memberships online, hosting events and live streaming matches, a fast and reliable broadband connection is essential for us. It's been amazing for our club. What could it do for yours?
For more about Air Gigabit Fibre Broadband for your business or club, visit air.ie/business. Go in store or call 1800 207 407. Subject to availability. Business broadband T's and C's apply.
The moment you win the semis becomes the journey on the way to the final. Hands clutching hurls and a bus full of messers, making bonds that will last a lifetime. Practicing for your Irish oral on the way. What did you do this weekend? Last weekend? Every weekend? And the whole team laughing because the answer is always the same. Camogie. It's the minor moments that last a lifetime. The Electric Ireland Camogie Minor Championships. This is major.
At Centra, feel good and shop smart with great offers this week. Like Centra Parpone chicken breasts, 610 gram, only €5. Centra no added sugar orange juice, 200ml 10 pouch. And Centra Kids still water 10 bottles, 250ml, $2.50 each. And Centra soft quilted toilet tissue, 18 rolls, only €5. Centra, live every day.
It's easy to feel trapped when you're dealing with mortgage arrears. The worry, sleepless nights, the impact on you and your family. But there is a way out.
Welcome. Come on in.
At Awalya, our door is always open. We're here to help and ready to listen. Get free, confidential support and practical advice to help you take control of the situation by visiting mabs.ie/Awalya. That's mabs.ie/Awalya, an initiative of the Government of Ireland.
In this week's Sunday Independent, Niamh Horan sits down with one of the most talked about men in the world, Donald Trump. Read her interview with one of the most controversial presidents in the history of the United States in a Sunday Independent exclusive. In print and online at independent.ie. Up close and independent.
When you're looking for mortgage protection, VHI has the cover you need. With our 10% discount for members, that means mortgage protection from only €7.58 per month. Search VHI Mortgage Protection. VHI Healthcare DAC trading as VHI Healthcare is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland and is tied to Zurich Life Assurance plc for VHI mortgage protection. Prices for a 30-year-old non-smoker for a 20-year term and mortgage protection of €237,000 with 1% insurance levy.
Global superstar Michael Bublé is back. Higher Tour Live. 13th and 14th of May, Free Arena Dublin. Michael Bublé, like you've never seen him before. Tickets from $89.50 on sale now from Ticketmaster.ie. Additional charges may apply.
I just haven't met you yet. Witness greatness live from the players you love with Sky Sports from Virgin Media. Virgin Media customers get an exclusive front row seat to unmissable moments by adding Sky Sports, BT Sport and Premier Sports for just €30 a month for 6 months. That's better than half price. Be part of every game with Virgin Media. It's playtime.
6-month offer, €74 a month after offer. T's and C's apply. See virginmedia.ie.
An evening with Lionel Richie. Performing all the hits all night long. St. Anne's Park, June 4th. With very special guests, the Human League. Tickets $69.90 on sale now from Ticketmaster.ie. Additional charges may apply, subject to licence. Lionel Richie, live in Dublin. Tickets on sale now.
Get ready for a mouth-watering evening of lively discussion and delicious bites with News Talk and Square. Food for Thought celebrates the vibrant food hospitality sector in Ireland at the Dublin Royal Convention Centre on Tuesday, May 9th. Hosted by Joe Lynham, this event boasts an impressive panel of culinary experts, including the acclaimed Paul Flynn. Join them as they share their journey in the industry, discuss the latest food hospitality trends, and impart insights and advice on how to succeed. Visit newstalk.com/events to secure your free ticket now. Food for Thought, proudly presented by Newstalk, with thanks to Square.com. Everything your business needs. Almost.
On 106 to 108 FM, on the Newstalk app, powered by Go Loud and smart speakers. This is Newstalk.
It's 2:00. Good afternoon, I'm Ellen Butler. Britain's new King and Queen have been crowned at London's Westminster Abbey. King Charles III was anointed with oil and presented with a solid gold crown during a 2-hour ceremony. Prince Harry was there, and we're told he's being invited to join up with his family afterwards. Claire McNamara reports.
The congregation cried "God Save the King" as the heavy St Edward's crown was placed on Charles's head by the Archbishop of Canterbury. Gun salutes were then fired across Britain and Northern Ireland to mark the moment. President Michael D. Higgins and Taoiseach Leo Varadkar were in attendance, along with world leaders, foreign royalty and celebrities, including TV personalities like Anton Deck and Joanna Lumley.
It's like a strange dream. It's like walking into a film, really.
There were a number of arrests, but no reports of any serious disturbance. Earlier, about 200 troops escorted the royal procession from Buckingham Palace as thousands lined the streets, anxious for a decent view.
We actually got a wave from King Charles. We waved and he kindly waved back. So, yeah, that was a highlight.
The royal couple afterwards departed Westminster Abbey for Buckingham Palace and a greeting from the balcony as the royal celebrations continue.
The WHO says rebuilding trust in our authorities is vitally important ahead of the next global health emergency. The World Health Organization yesterday downgraded the threat level of COVID-19. The decision was taken based off the significant drop in deaths and hospitalisations. Dr. Margaret Harris from the WHO admits the pandemic did take a toll on public trust in many countries.
But if you look at the studies, the populations that have done best are populations that have had a high level of trust in their authorities. We at WHO certainly never want to see people locked up. That was really the drastic measure that authorities ended up taking because they just had run out of other things to do because this thing had so pressed our health systems.
The government is being accused of completely neglecting the rural dimension of the housing crisis. The Rural Independent Group of TDs will table a motion in the Dáil next week, urging the government to publish new rural planning guidelines and address the huge backlog in An Bord Pleanála. Independent TD Carol Nolan says accelerating solutions will help free up rental properties.
Those couples who come into my office, and I'm sure my colleagues' offices around the country as well, they will tell you that they have no choice, they're forced to rent. So they're taking up a rented property, and there are very few houses for rent at a reasonable price.
And finally, for now, bus users will soon be able to use their contactless credit or debit cards to pay fares. A pilot scheme is set to be rolled out before the end of the month. The testing on the pilot system will be carried out next week, including security tests. Digital payment options on public transport are available in many other countries. And that's your news. At 2 minutes past 2.
News Talk weather.
Thanks to Ryanair. Top hats fly free for Ascot on Ryanair's low-fare flights to Luton, Gatwick and Stansted.
Some sunny spells today with showers developing in the afternoon. Some will turn heavy and possibly thundery. Top temperatures reaching 15 to 18 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
And this is Off the Ball Saturday on News Talk. John Duggan with you through to 5. You can text us 53106, tweet us at Off the Ball. We're streaming the conversation as well. You can listen across the country on News Talk. Also watch us if you'd like on the Off the Ball digital and social channels. On Twitter, YouTube and Facebook, we're continuing the hurling conversation on the Saturday panel, previewing this weekend's action with Kilkenny's former All-Ireland winner Taggy Fogarty, the ex-Limerick player and manager TJ Ryan, and the former Offaly player and now GA rider with the Irish Independent, Michael Verney. TJ, how are you?
Good now, John, yeah. Good night last night. I was at a concert in Dublin, so I've just made it home there a while ago.
Was it Bruce Springsteen, was it?
It was Bruce Springsteen, yeah. Great show last night.
And Michael and Taggy, were you at that as well?
Definitely not. I wish.
The last time I seen Bruce Springsteen, John, was a dour day for hurling. It was actually 2013. We played Cork inside in Semple Stadium, and we got knocked out that very day. And we went back to Nolan Park to watch Bruce Springsteen. And I'll never forget it, actually. I can't remember who it was. One of the Cork boys. Obviously, it has been said in the dressing room. But he said to me, "You're probably going back to Bruce Springsteen now." And I said, "I am, yeah." So they knew that we had our eye taken off the ball. We were swapping tickets for Bruce Springsteen and not for championship matches, which wasn't good.
The big question is, who's the bigger boss, Bruce Springsteen or Brian Cody?
There's only one boss in Kilkenny, and that's Cody.
That's Cody.
I'm trying to think of Bruce Springsteen songs to put in as puns here, but I'm struggling. Glory Days being one of them. Yeah. was it? It seemed like a great occasion. He's played here a lot. He loves his country, doesn't he, TJ?
Absolutely does, yeah. And he's got a great following here as well. So yeah, he's been around like 73 years of age, and to be performing the way he's performing now, he's obviously a credit, and just to be able to keep it going, and it was 3 hours non-stop, no break, all the way through. So yeah, powerful stuff.
Oh, great stuff, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. What about Limerick then, TJ? Is it a good thing in a way that they got beat last weekend? They'll have to sharpen their focus. They'll be regrouping now for Cork and Tipperary in a few weeks.
I would never consider it a good thing to be beat, John. Definitely. We were kind of getting used to the way things were rolling down here. Look, it's definitely changed things a little and changed the dynamic. And I suppose the way the semi-final and final of the league bounced into the first 2 rounds of the championship, there was like 4 games there in a very short period of time, like just over 5 weeks. That just maybe made life a little bit difficult, maybe physically and mentally. And like we've always known there's a kind of a transition phase from league hurling into championship hurling, and that just happened really, really quick. And like they have 1 win on the board at least, which is definitely a help right now. And I do agree with you. 3-week break, I think, is coming at the right time. Albeit the news this week on Sean Finn, he's another little blow. Like he's going to be a big loss.
What's going to be done then in terms of messaging and tactics by Paul Kinnerk and John Kiley? What do you think they'll be working on?
Well, in fairness to Paul and John, over the last number of years, they have very much kind of stuck with the same plan. Like he's definitely one of those coaches that instead of plan B, kind of makes plan A better. And I'd say go away and work on it. Like I think you have to give the opposition credit in the last 2 games as well, John, the way they played and the way they forced Limerick's hand, and they were brave and they pushed up the field. So maybe there could be a tweak. And in fairness to the lads, they've pulled many rabbits out of the hat over the last couple of years with like moves like Barry Nash and Kyle Hayes. So is there something else in there? Like the personnel for me are there. But at the same time, I don't think there's any need to panic here. Like Clare have been very close to them last year. Like they're a team that's exceptionally good in terms of experience, and they know the Limerick players very well. So was that a major surprise? I don't think it was. But at the same time, like from Limerick's point of view, we don't like losing matches, and Munster is competitive. And like the next couple of games and the game Saturday night, obviously I'd say tonight is very important. And obviously then the next game for Limerick. But to go back to what you said a while ago, the 3-week break I think is coming at absolutely the right time.
Does it seep into a player's head? You were in this 4 in a row sphere, Taggy Fogarty in 2009. Does history, does talk, does all that kind of thing, does like the fact that you've done it and you've beaten everybody and the hunger thing and all that, is it hard to keep going?
Well, I think the thing with Limerick, I think with any team, any successful team, it's kind of been driven within the camp now. And you talk about the personnel and the players that they have, and we were talking before the championship started about the options that Limerick have, and that's been driven within the camp. All these players, Casey trying to get on the team, English, if you're benching 60 kg, I went to bench 80 kg. So that's all been driven within the camp. So that's your kind of motivation. I want to be the best, and you want to win as much as you can when you can. And now is your opportunity to win it. And I suppose when you lose a game, it's not the end of the world, but I suppose, look, they were a bit lethargic against Waterford. Waterford could have caught them if they had their shooting boots on. their second game now, and they were beaten by Clare, and Clare could have easily beat them last year as well. It's just the way the game went. It's a phenomenal game. So I think in their own heads, I think Kiley, he'll have a stick to kind of beat them with, really, to bring him back down to reality and kind of say, look guys, this is not a foregone conclusion, which I presume he'll be saying to him anyway. But the fact that now this has actually happened, he'll be able to say, look, positions are up for grabs. He'll be able to drive him as in terms of a psychological kind of thing, more so than a physical, because they're in great shape as it is. But just to kind of really kind of test him and get the best out of him and really kind of ground him and not to let them get carried away. But all the doubt and all the small little bit of talk, I remember we played Dublin in 13, we drew with them in Portlaoise, and all the thing was, well, you had your chance to beat Kilkenny, your chance is gone. And we came back and bet them and played them in a replay and they beat us. So small things can creep in, media things can creep in just slightly. Sean Finn is gone, so there's one kind of option. You're talking about what's going to do next. That's an option. Maybe if they could have pushed up Kyle Hayes, maybe up to centre forward, could have pushed out Morrissey to wing back, and Casey. That option is gone. Keane Lynch is not clicking on full tilt. He's carrying a bit of a hamstring. So all these things can creep into your head, and it's down to the management team, I suppose, to just kind of drive it and throw off the shackles and say this championship is wide open. And never mind our Ireland series. It's kind of funny, if you're at the Ireland series now, you nearly fancy Limerick to win it, but in Munster you're kind of thinking it's going to be a hard battle to get out of Munster. You know, it's funny the way it's gone.
Yeah, just so competitive. John Conlon's leaving his brother's wedding to play against Limerick. Paddy Maher, the Tipp selector, postponing his honeymoon until after the Cork game. Have you lads ever had important days interrupted by hurling, TJ?
Actually, I suppose maybe most of my life, my wife and family will tell you, has been interrupted by hurling, because you try to make plans as much as you can around it. I suppose maybe when we were making those type of plans, John, we made sure that we didn't make them in the middle of the hurling season. We were always kind of looking ahead to say, well, we could be, and maybe we were dreamers. We were always optimistic that we might be, maybe from a club point of view or a county point of view, involved in something. So no, I was never, we never clashed like that. So it's, I suppose, question marks would have to be asked, right? Like, from a, let's say, that point of view, why would you plan a wedding in the middle of the hurling season? Sure, no one does that, do they?
Yeah, I think it was his brother, yeah. So obviously he reprimanded. Did you ever have any clashes, Aidan? Taggy?
I had a close call, all right, yeah. But when you talk about planning weddings, my own brother got married, I think it was August, yeah. And we were playing Cork the week after. Now, look, so it wasn't too bad. But I was missing training. And I was dreading even going up to talk to Cody. And I said, look, my brother's wedding and I'm best man. And he kind of looked at me and he kind of, you know, his usual kind of eyes, and he's twitching his mouth, and he kind of said, right, but sure, look, if you're best man, you're best man, and then all this kind of crack. So look, he let me off, and it did me no harm. So that in Ireland semi-final, and I think I scored 3 points the same day. So look, it wasn't too bad, but that was the closest call that I ever got. But like TJ, you'd never be planning things on a personal level in the summertime. And even Kilkenny supporters got ahead of themselves back in the day. They'd be saying, right, well, I go on holidays in July, but I'm making it back for September anyway. That's for sure. So that's how bad it got down here.
You're probably more nervous going to Brian that day than you were in the All-Ireland final, Taggy.
I was, yeah. I never liked going to Brian with an excuse or not making training. The easiest thing to do was just keep your head down and get there and say nothing. And that suited everybody, and it suited Brian as well.
Do you miss it, TJ? Do you miss being on the line? Obviously, you were a player. You played in the forwards and the backs for Limerick in the 90s and into the 2000s, and then you were manager in the last 10 years. I've seen a huge amount of change in hurling, both as a player and a manager, and now obviously as a pundit now with the Limerick as All-Ireland champions.
Yeah, to be honest, John, you'd always miss playing. I think that's what we all wanted to do, and all we ever wanted to do was play, because that's what the game is about. Even when you go into the field, instead of doing all the running and training, you want to play a game. So from that point of view, I always missed playing. I suppose that's probably what dragged us to the sideline, was you kind of missed the game, and you tried to still stay involved because the legs and the body wasn't able to go anymore. I can't say that you'd miss the sideline and the management. That's kind of very, very difficult job, and you'd have to give an awful lot of credit to the people up and down the country involved, club teams and county teams, because of the time consumption, number one, and maybe the pressure even it puts on and maybe the pressure you put on yourself. So I don't think that's an element, well, certainly for me, that I don't miss. It's much easier now to sit and talk to you guys and tell the other people what they're doing wrong, and just enjoy sitting on the fence.
It must have been remarkable then when you're on the line and you're trying to get Limerick back. You got them semi-final. I remember that great game in the rain, TJ. I think it was 2014, 14. Yeah. And then you're seeing this incredible team come along and win, 4 All-Irelands in 5 years. What was it like for you on the sideline, like in the crowd then, watching these great games, these great days, these great breakthroughs?
Sure, look, as I said at the outset, I was always hopeful that we would see Limerick get to the very top. And I suppose I never would have thought back then that, let's say, the type of domination that the lads had done over the last couple of years, I never would have thought that was possible. But it was brilliant to see it. And as I said, it just gives everybody a shot in the arm, all around the world even, and what it's done for Limerick people, and there's the joy and the good moods and just in general talking about it. And like from that point of view, it's been fantastic going to the matches. Like I have a wife and 2 sons who go to all the Limerick matches as well. And we've really, really enjoyed the last couple of years. And look, the reality is we probably had, like Taggy said there a while ago, we were getting used to the feeling. So it was nearly a little bit surreal. And in fairness to the Limerick supporters, to a man, I said they were all very kind of gracious in defeat. That look, on the night Clare deserved to win, and it was just an unusual feeling for us because we just got so used to John and Paul getting things right, and this team is fantastic, and we're just, I think, fortunate that we have generation players just really, really, really on top of their game and playing very well. And look, as I said, we've taken a punch, but that's all it is for the moment. We're definitely not out.
Michael, you can always say you laid the foundations, TJ.
That's it.
Just no, I couldn't be taking credit like that. Like as I said, over the last maybe 12 or 13 years, in fairness, there's an awful lot of people done an awful lot of work that's kind of been pushing things forward. But what I would say, definitely to the forefront of maybe club and county success has definitely been, let's say, the younger players, that academy, just pushing fellas through, preparing them for the next level. And we got a big bunch there through that were just exceptional at the right time. But the maybe the levels of, let's say, field stuff like, let's say, the strength and conditioning and all that other stuff, nutrition, that improved through the teams there. And I said, in fairness, the right players came along at the right time. And I'd say maybe the stars aligned then with, let's say, the right manager, the right coaching staff, let's say the right other people involved, video analysis, let's say Caroline Corrid and let's say all that crew, coupled with the right players. And I think that's been the key to success for this Limerick team.
Michael Verney, so Tipperary, it was just a washout last year in the round robin for them, but Liam Cahill's come in, Mikey Bevins, his sidekick, is Peter Taylor to his Brian Clough, as it were. Are they the real deal? 5 goals against Clare, 14 goals in the league. Are they going to get out of the round robin?
Yeah, I know. I thought beforehand they would. The Clare game was obviously a massive game. They just, not that they were unbelievably impressive that day, they just exploited mistakes that Clare made. Clare played quite well in that game, just couldn't overcome the mistakes that they made. I have to say about Cahill and Bevins and Co, they've hit the ground running from the off. You can see Cahill always gets a bounce no matter whatever team he's with, be it Waterford or whoever it is. Waterford played super stuff for 2 3/4 years and only struggled in the latter stages of Munster last year. Before that, they were absolutely brilliant. He's hit the ground running with Tipp. They're ravenous for goals. That's obviously their philosophy as a management team. It was the same when they were with the minors, it was the same when they were with the 20s, same when they were with the 21s. They just love green flags and they'll be going after them and hunting for them tonight. I suppose Cork didn't concede any last weekend. They easily could have had. Waterford probably butchered a couple of chances. I'm a big Liam Cahill fan now, I have to say, and he obviously knows that squad inside out. It's most of the guys that he's worked with at underage level through the All-Ireland wins at 3 different grades, mixed with Shamie Callanan, who's back in the squad, Noel McGrath, Bonner Maher and a few more. And I think crucially, outside of Craig Morgan being injured and Barry Heffernan been injured, and obviously poor Dylan Quirk's passing as well, like he's adapted to the cards he was dealt unbelievably well. He'll never give an excuse. He'll just work with what he has, and what he has at the moment, he has them humming pretty well. But it's a massive game again tonight. It really, really is. I'm finding it hard to call a winner, to be honest with you. I was been slated last week for sitting on the fence in Kilkenny and Galway. I thought that would be a draw, and I wouldn't be a bit surprised if that's a draw down in the park tonight as well.
18 years, Taggy, Fogarty, you in 06 were there. You won man of the match against Cork, the All-Ireland. Hard to believe they haven't won at All-Ireland since then. What's been the reason that they've been held back, and is there signs of the Pat Ryan that it can change going forward? They've had a great underage teams the last few years. Was a comfortable win over Waterford last week. Where do you feel Cork are at the moment?
Yeah, I still think Cork are kind of an unknown entity. We didn't see much of them, I think, against a very watery Waterford last weekend, and I think Pat Ryan still doesn't know what they're all about. For me, though, I think they have improved, and I think they are a better team now than they have been in other years. The biggest fault I'd have with Cork, and it has been said, is their work rate, their consistency, and in that real cut and thrust of championship, are they able to win their own ball, get the hooks, get the blocks, get all the dirty work done, and then get up the field, and what they're very good at, pace, playing it through the line, great stick men, and mar the two of them. So I feel they have strengthened their team in terms of work. If you listen to any interview by Pat Ryan, it's working on hooking, it's working on blocks, it's getting the bodies on the line. And I think one of the biggest things for Cork is their centre line. They've never really replaced maybe a Dermot O'Sullivan or a Ronan Curran. But now they have a Downey in full back. He didn't play it last day. He's not named tonight, but he could still start. But his brother as well out in the wing played very well the last day. And they have Kieran Joyce in a really good settled centre back. So for me, the full back is sorted. For me, the centre back is sorted. And they've upped their game in terms of hooks, blocks, and getting that kind of aggressive nature into them. And then we all know about their power in terms of pace, in terms of lads coming off the bench, in terms of their scoring ability. If you let Cork run at you, they will destroy you. We've seen it in Croke Park where we drew with them after 70 minutes. They come out and then destroyed us in 15 minutes. Just got to run on us. They have really, really good players. So I think Pat Ryan has got that little bit extra out of him in terms of work rate. Now, the thing is the consistency of it. But they came to Nolan Park and fell apart. They didn't really have to do it against Waterford because they didn't need to. They were just tacking on points and getting over the line. So tonight is where it's going to be challenged and where we're going to see whether they've actually got to that point of getting the two of them right together, the two attributes that they need to go on and to qualify out of this Munster Championship. Because Tipperary, we know what they have. We spoke about them already. They're going to come in a fight. They're going to come in a battle. They've already beaten Clare, who have beaten our Ireland champions Limerick. So we know what Tipperary are all about. It's Cork, for me, is the big test. And this is a huge game tonight. If whoever wins this game possibly could qualify out of the Munster Championship. That's how serious it is. And you talk about, the 90s. It's a pity these two teams having 2 games played and 2 games and 1 game lost. It'd be a real then championship game, knockout championship game for me. But tonight, it's nearly back to them 90s days of the 91, Munster final kind of knockout championship. And I just can't wait for it. And I just can't wait for to see what Cork comes with, especially because I kind of seen what Tipperary are going to come in, and it's Cork for me that is the unknown.
TJ Ryan, where are you on this, Cork Tipperary?
Bit on the fence. I probably agree with everything the lads have said. I think it's a bigger game for Cork tonight because of the fixtures that they have to come. They got to go to Clare and go to Limerick. So the fact that they've both got a win on the board, because of what we spoke about Waterford, we don't really know what way they'll finish out the championship. So Tipperary, I'd be fancying Tipp to beat Waterford when they play them. So the fact they have 2 points, that's why I'm saying it's not as big a game for them tonight. I was being impressed with Tipperary in the league semi-final. Their intensity, they matched Limerick up to the 55 minutes. Then let's say a goal went against them that saw Limerick over the line. So just as you said about Cahill there, he definitely has him buzzing, and that kind of drive and energy looking for goals, and he has the team buzzing in a way maybe I think that the Tipp supporters like, and that's what they're hunting. But I'm in the same bracket as Taggy with Cork, and I don't know. Maybe just the central line of the attack, like Darragh Fitzgibbon got away with murder the last day in that it was so loose. Can he make a centre forward, and can he contribute, regularly those number of points? And the mix for Cork, I think, is where they challenge. We know they've good hurlers. There was times maybe when they played maybe 6 lovely hurlers in the forwards, and we know the game has changed to a degree where that balance between work rate and maybe power, along with the pace and the panache and skill. So getting that mix right, I think, is huge for them. And I think Dechy Dalton has brought something to the team that maybe they mightn't have had before. They've had Harnedy kind of playing with maybe Patrick Horgan inside, which definitely has suited at times. So getting that piece right. So will they start as is? I suppose there must have been a question for them as to whether they'd start Robbie or Flynn or not. He's been one of their most impressive forwards over the last couple of seasons. So will they start as is? maybe Pat Ryan will give the nod to a winning team. Like Cork are slight favourites, I think, because of home advantage. And my view is it's a bigger game for them. And I think it's very, very close to knockout championship for them tonight. And I think they have to win. I'm just going to give them the nod. I'm actually going to tell you that I think both teams will qualify. We'll qualify out of Munster. But I think it's a bigger game for Cork tonight. And I think they just might get over the line. Their bench is strong. And as I said, we'll have to wait and see what team they start.
So Clare out of the championship then, okay.
He didn't commit to that. He didn't commit to it.
So you're saying Limerick are going to get through as well?
I didn't say that either. I didn't say that yet.
Yeah. Well, you won't be going against your own. Michael Verney, Dublin, Wexford. Is this just a project for Micheál Donoghue? Is it a bonus what happens this year for the Dubs?
Yes and no. They've a lot of big bodies missing, obviously. The Rush is not around this year, potentially retired. Chris Crummey's not around. Cian O'Callaghan and Mark Schutte is not involved. Reem McBride, probably a couple more names as well. A lot of new faces in, the likes of Alex Considine, Cian O'Sullivan. It would be a bonus if they qualify, but that's like, Micheál's a born winner and he's going to go gung-ho for that result tonight. I think moving the games from Parnell. Interestingly, they played Westmeath in Parnell last week, but they're playing the other two games in Croke Park. That's probably with a long-term vision of where silverware going to be handed out, be it the Bob O'Keefe or otherwise. It's going to be handed out in Croke Park. If they're going to beat any of the big hitters, they're probably going to have to beat them in Croke Park as well. So I presume that's leaning into moving away what would have been, Parnell Park would have always been viewed as a fortress. I hated playing there. I'd say Taggy's probably the same. I'd say if TJ managed up there, he's probably the same as well. It's just a horrible, claustrophobic venue. John Milan described it this morning in The Independent as like playing a game in your back garden, and that's what it was like. So, but that suited, the likes of Conal Keeney, maybe even the likes of Chris Crummey, the real physical players that they had, but maybe a lot more mobility in their side now, and they're thinking that Croke Park suits them better. To me, a lot of this game tonight depends on, is Owen O'Donnell fit? He's named to start. He came off injured the last day. Lee Chin was hitting frees off his left-hand side at the end of the Antrim game. Such was the pain in his shoulder. Liam Ryan went off. Damien Reck hasn't played championship yet, so a lot to do. Like, you couldn't confidently call that game until 4:55 when you see who's actually on the pitch.
What's happened to Wexford, Taggy? Because under Davy they won Leinster, they got to an All-Ireland semi-final, they were close to an All-Ireland final. They seem to have stalled a bit.
Yeah, I think so. Look, I think injuries at the beginning of the year really hampered them in the league, and I suppose they lost a lot of confidence in the beatings they got. Clare went down, given an awful beating. There was goals, there was flying in left, right and centre, and Liam Ryan was injured, Chin was injured, Damien Reck wasn't on the pitch, and I think they never really replaced them, as in, I think every team this year nearly found somebody. We found a Billy Drennan, Tipperary, and Alan Tyne and Cork, kind of a Downey. But Wexford never really kind of found anybody that came through the ranks that they could replace these guys from. And I think they just massively, massively missed them. There was eight or nine injuries there for one league game. And take that out of any team and they're going to struggle. And I think Wexford are a bit of a confidence team. And they play well when they're winning matches, and the crowd seems to get behind them and the supporters get behind them. I was down in Wexford during the week. There wasn't much talk about the hurling at all. Towards a couple of years ago, it was all Wexford, it was all Davy, it was all, are we going to the match? And I think that feeds into the players. So I think maybe the wind has gone out of their sails slightly. They are beginning to build a small bit of getting these lads back. Liam Ryan is back, Chin is back, albeit his shoulder. You'd wonder how good or bad he's paying through the pain barrier, if you ask me. And Damien Reck is a massive addition as well. So I think they are beginning to gain a bit of momentum in terms of getting their guys back. But I think just the wind has gone over their sails in terms of confidence. But that could change just in one game. Like, it's amazing in championship and hurling. If you have one good performance, you get on a bit of a run. They could be a hard team to beat to get to the All-Ireland series. I can guarantee you a wounded Wexford team or an underdog of a Wexford team, no Munster team would like to play him.
No, we saw that with Clare, definitely under Davy Fitzgerald when Clare was there. TJ Ryan, how do you see this one? Dublin, Clare, Wexford?
Yeah, different question again, John. I'd like to think that maybe Wexford would have maybe further ahead. Like, Micheál Donoghue was building something newer. And to answer your question about Wexford a while ago, I think maybe that player in the bracket of maybe 20 to 25. They haven't kind of found a huge amount in that area for the last number of years. They're still, like all the big players that we speak about, Wexford are all kind of surrounded a long timers. Liam Ryan, Matthew Hanlon, Lee Chin, Dee O'Keefe, Liam McGovern, Conor McDonald. They're all just around a long time. So that new piece there that Taggy was on about, that's probably one of the challenges for Wexford. But I just think that they weren't far away from making an All-Ireland semi-final last year. And you know, they do normally play well in Croke Park, so I'm going to give them the nod to win this game. I think they might just have a bit much. And Dublin, as I said, but Micheál, don't know, I think he's building something more for the longer term. I think if they win and get qualified in 2023, I think it'll be bonus surgery for them. 53106, we got a joker here, Mike. Looks like TJ's writing off Limerick up the banner, says one of our texters. So funny. Yeah, he mustn't have been listening to me correctly. Like I said, we took a punch, but we're not out, yeah? Yeah. Also on 53106, ask Michael Verney about Offaly. Seems to be making great progress this year, says Jordan.
Yeah, obviously down a lower tier, but you know, a couple of years ago we were in Christy Ring and we couldn't get out of it one year. Very, very consistent now under Johnny Kelly. We suffered a bad blow there about a month ago with Oisín Kelly doing his cruciate again, but things are moving nicely. The under-20s have a big game against Dublin on Wednesday night. Large cohort of that minor team that won Leinster last year and that were beaten in the All-Ireland final in such heartbreaking circumstances. And a lot of them were on the Offaly Schools team that won the Leinster A title this year, and Kalash and Naomh Cormac won the Leinster B title as well. So things are moving along nicely. That's the level we're at the moment, Joe McDonough, but I'd be very hopeful in 3 or 4 years if we can bring through 7 or 8 of those guys, mix them with Ben Keneally, Owen Cahill, Oisín Kelly and a few more of those lads, that we could be nearing the top table again.
And this under-20s thing, Taggy Fogarty, so there's got to be a 7-day gap between playing the two codes, as it were. Henry Shefflin was criticising the issue during the week. So players obviously can be overwhelmed with a lot of games, but maybe it should be in the players' hands. What's your view on all of this?
Yeah, John, look, I wouldn't agree with it. I think if you're under 20 and you're eligible to play under 20, you should play under 20. You should have your best team out there. I think, just from a personal point of view, if I was 19-20, I'd want to be playing under 20 hurling. Absolutely no doubt about it. And I don't think there'd obviously have to be a bit of a talk between the two managers and training schedules and different things. But there's absolutely no way. I'd hate to miss out on the under-20 championship if I was playing senior. And some of these guys maybe are on the fringes of the senior panel, which makes it very hard for them to kind of say, right, well, we're going to pull this out just in case we might need him. And next thing they miss out on an under-20 game. So it's very unfortunate. I don't like it. I think if you're eligible to play, you should be able to play. They're young, they're fit, strength and conditioning, recovery sessions. It's all in there now, and I don't see. You look at the soccer players; like they play 3 games a week, and I know it's a different game. But look, if you look in terms of the matches that they're playing a week, I think there's no need to have the 7-day gap. And if you're eligible to play, you should play. And like you're coming down with an understrength under-20 team, and you might get beaten and knocked out, and it's just not fair when you could have the maybe opportunity to win in All-Ireland. And you know, I cherish my under-21 All-Ireland. I was on the panel on the senior team, and we were out the week after. We won the All-Ireland with the senior team. We played the under-21 All-Ireland the week after, and there was no problems. You know, there was we were told to stop drinking on a Monday night, and we did, and we were in training on a Tuesday night. So I disagree with it, and I think they should be allowed play.
You were happy enough to take your under-20 title last year, Taggy, when Cathal O'Neill wasn't playing for Limerick, though. I didn't hear you piping up.
No, I would never pipe up, no. But as I said, lads that missed out on our Irelands, I feel sorry for them. But look, when the winner is a winner, and that's, you have your medal in the back pocket, that's all that matters.
Very good. Taggy Fogarty, TJ Ryan, Michael Verney, thanks so much, lads, for speaking to us. Enjoy Cork and Tipp later. Enjoy the matches tomorrow as well. And go Bruce Springsteen.
The boss. Thanks, John.
See you, lads. Take care.
Thanks, John. Cheers.
Thanks.
We're going to chat to Cora Staunton on Gaelic football after this.
Off the ball on News Talk. News Talk. Conversation that counts.
There's also 3 separate investigations underway following violent attacks in Sligo. How do you feel when you heard that?
And it comes back to these kind of hate crime laws, and people need to be told that this is not okay.
Unless you moderate your prices, you will have no home on our airport campuses.
I've yet to come